If the rebels had failed to find the Death Star plans, the galaxy would have faced a profoundly different series of events, altering the course of its history in ways both dire and far-reaching. The Death Star represented more than a weapon. It was a symbol of the Empire's unchallenged dominion and its capacity to enforce its rule through fear. Without the stolen plans to expose its vulnerability, the Rebel Alliance would have been unable to deliver their decisive blow, and the Empire's grip on the galaxy would have tightened significantly. The Rebel Alliance relied on hope as its guiding principle, and the acquisition of the Death Star plans was a critical manifestation of that hope. Without this victory, the Alliance would have found itself scrambling to find an alternative way to challenge the Empire. The Death Star would remain an invincible symbol, its power capable of reducing entire planets to rubble with the press of a button. Without the means to destroy it, rebel forces would face demoralization, and the Empire would exploit this psychological advantage mercilessly. Leia Organa's mission to smuggle the plans to the Alliance was not only a pivotal act of defiance but also a galvanizing moment for the rebellion. If she had never possessed the plans, her diplomatic immunity as a senator might have kept her alive, but she would lack the leverage to be a thorn in the Empire's side. Captured by Darth Vader aboard the Tantive 4, she would have faced prolonged interrogation and possibly execution, her absence creating a leadership vacuum within the rebellion. On Tatooine, Luke Skywalker's journey might never have begun. The fateful discovery of R2-D2 and the encoded message from Leia was the catalyst that pulled Luke out of obscurity and into the galactic conflict. Without that call to adventure, Luke would have remained on his uncle's farm, unaware of his potential as a Jedi and of his destiny to confront Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine. Obi-Wan Kenobi, having gone into exile to protect Luke, would likely have remained hidden, his opportunity to train the young Skywalker lost. The absence of the plans would also mean the destruction of Alderaan would serve as a far more crushing and definitive moment for the galaxy. The annihilation of Leia's homeworld sent shockwaves through the Rebel Alliance, fueling their resolve to fight. However, without the knowledge that the Death Star could be defeated, the destruction of Alderaan might have prompted many rebels to question the futility of their efforts. The Empire would have exploited this loss as a demonstration of its ultimate authority, forcing systems to bow under the weight of its power. Without the Battle of Yavin, which resulted in the Death Star's destruction, the Imperial war machine would have grown even more aggressive. The Emperor and Vader would consolidate power further, using the Death Star to obliterate planets suspected of harboring rebel activity. As fear spread across the galaxy, more systems would capitulate, and any chance of uniting them against the Empire would diminish. The rebellion, fractured and diminished in resources, would struggle to maintain its foothold in the Outer Rim. Moreover, the absence of a major victory like Yavin would hinder the recruitment of new members to the Rebel Alliance. The destruction of the Death Star was a rallying cry that inspired countless individuals to join the cause, believing the Empire could be defeated. Without such a moment, many would see resistance as futile, leaving the Alliance with fewer resources and fighters. Even charismatic leaders like Mon Mothma and Garm Bel Iblis would find it increasingly difficult to inspire hope in the face of the Empire's overwhelming might. The personal arcs of key characters would be irrevocably altered. Han Solo, for instance, might never have joined the rebellion. His decision to assist in rescuing Leia from the Death Star was rooted in his interactions with Luke and the promise of a reward. Without the mission to destroy the Death Star, Han would likely have continued his life as a smuggler, avoiding entanglements with the Empire whenever possible. His eventual transformation into a leader within the Alliance would never occur, leaving the rebellion deprived of one of its most resourceful allies. With the rebellion weakened, the Empire would shift its focus to Coruscant, using the planet as a propaganda hub to showcase its invincibility. Coruscant, the center of galactic politics and culture, would become a chilling example of what happened to those who dared oppose Imperial rule. Its gleaming spires and bustling districts would be transformed into symbols of oppression, adorned with reminders of the Death Star's destructive power. Meanwhile, the Emperor's plans for galactic domination would advance unchallenged. Secret projects like the Second Death Star would proceed without interference, reinforcing the Empire's hold. The Sith would continue their search for Force-sensitive individuals to eliminate or corrupt, ensuring that no threats emerged to challenge Palpatine's vision. For the galaxy's citizens, life under the Empire would become increasingly unbearable. Systems that once held out hope for liberation would resign themselves to subjugation, their cultures and traditions eroded under Imperial decrees. Rebel sympathizers would be hunted down with ruthless efficiency, as the Empire used the Death Star to instill fear and suppress dissent. The galaxy would descend into a darker era, one where any spark of resistance was swiftly extinguished. With the rebellion unable to deliver a critical blow to the Death Star, the Empire's strategy of fear would solidify into an unassailable reality. The psychological and strategic impact of a fully operational Death Star, coupled with the absence of an inspiring victory for the Rebel Alliance, would fundamentally reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. The sheer scale of destruction wielded by the Empire would leave no corner of the galaxy untouched by its oppressive rule. The failure to secure the Death Star plans would also have dire consequences for the Jedi legacy. Without Luke Skywalker being thrust into the rebellion's struggles, the revival of the Jedi Order would remain an unfulfilled dream. Yoda, isolated on Dagobah, would never train Luke, and Obi-Wan Kenobi's wisdom would remain untapped. The ideals of the Jedi, justice, peace, and balance, would fade further into myth as the Sith solidified their dominance. Emperor Palpatine and Darth Vader, unchecked by the Jedi or their spiritual legacy, would continue to corrupt the Force, tilting it ever further into darkness. The Empire, emboldened by its unchallenged supremacy, would accelerate its policies of exploitation and resource extraction. Planets across the galaxy, from the industrial worlds of the core to the untapped resources of the Outer Rim, would become mere cogs in the Imperial machine. The Wookiees of Kashyyyk, already enslaved, would face increased brutality as their labor was used to build more weapons of mass destruction. Mon Calamari shipyards, known for their expertise in starship construction, would be targeted more aggressively, eliminating a key potential ally for the rebellion. Coruscant, already transformed into the heart of Imperial propaganda, would serve as a chilling demonstration of the Empire's vision for the galaxy. High-ranking officials would hold grand parades celebrating the Death Star's might, sending a clear message to all systems: defiance is futile. The sprawling city planet would become a stage for Palpatine's vision of an ironclad empire, broadcasting its strength across the HoloNet to further demoralize would-be rebels. Meanwhile, the rebellion would be forced to rethink its tactics, operating in smaller cells and adopting a more guerrilla-style approach. While this strategy could prolong the fight, it would come at the cost of coordination and effectiveness. Lacking a unified goal like the destruction of the Death Star, the fragmented rebellion would struggle to rally its supporters and maintain cohesion. In time, the disparate cells might lose sight of their broader purpose, focusing instead on local skirmishes and survival rather than galactic liberation. The personal evolution of key figures would continue to diverge from the trajectory seen in a timeline where the Death Star was destroyed. Leia Organa, if not executed outright, might be paraded as a captured rebel symbol, forced to publicly denounce the rebellion to save the remnants of her people. Alternatively, she might be subjected to more sinister manipulation, used as a pawn in the Empire's games of political intrigue. Her defiance would be remembered, but her capacity to influence the rebellion's future would be diminished. Han Solo, absent the bond formed with Luke and Leia, would remain firmly entrenched in his mercenary lifestyle. His reputation as a rogue smuggler would grow, but his deeper potential for heroism and selflessness would remain unexplored. As for Luke, his destiny would be entirely unraveled. Remaining on Tatooine under the watchful but inactive eye of Obi-Wan, Luke would continue his mundane life, yearning for adventure but never realizing his connection to the greater galaxy. The truth of his lineage would remain hidden, depriving him of the chance to confront and redeem Darth Vader. The familial and spiritual threads that could have woven a more hopeful future for the galaxy would instead unravel, leaving Vader firmly entrenched as Palpatine's enforcer. The second Death Star, completed in secret, would solidify the Empire's dominance even further. With two planet-destroying weapons at its disposal, the Empire would implement a strategy of overwhelming fear, targeting planets indiscriminately to keep systems in line. The idea of rebellion would become a distant dream, spoken of only in whispers. the galaxy's cultural and political diversity would erode under the relentless march of Imperial standardization. As the years passed, the galaxy would become a grim and desolate place, devoid of the hope that once defined its inhabitants. Resistance movements would become isolated and increasingly ineffective, their resources stretched thin and their resolve undermined by constant fear. The legacy of the Republic, the Jedi, and the diverse peoples of the galaxy would fade into memory, overshadowed by the Empire's relentless march toward total domination. In this timeline, the absence of the Death Star's destruction would create a cascade of despair and submission. The rebels' failure to uncover its plans would not merely prolong their struggle. It would mark the beginning of their end. The galaxy, once a tapestry of countless cultures and free peoples, would become a homogenized empire ruled by fear, its spirit crushed under the shadow of Imperial supremacy.